We thank you for all the many gifts that you've given us. We pray for all the young people that are participating in this dialogue, discussion on veganism, and how we can change the earth and be the difference. We ask this all in your many precious and beautiful names. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. So just a warm welcome to everyone again, greeting you all in peace and love. So thank you, Mark, for the beautiful prayer. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Veganuary Interfaith Youth Cooking webinar, hosted by Religions for Peace Interfaith Youth Climate Forum. It's wonderful to have you all here, especially coming together as youth to celebrate Veganuary. So before we begin, we will do a short 5-minute guided meditation for the earth. This meditation was given to me by my guru, Paramaal Vishwananda. And I'd like for us to connect with Mother Earth, send her a lot of love and gratitude, and just calm ourselves and just get connected within ourselves before we begin our webinar. So I'm going to share my screen. So I would like all of you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. So take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Take another deep breath in and another deep breath out. And as you take your next deep breath in and out, I want you to release all the negative energy you feel inside of you, whatever worries, negativity, anxiousness, fear, anger, whatever it is. So take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And just release everything you feel. Now, I want you to focus on your heart center. And I want you to feel your heart. Feel all the love and all the positive energy in your heart. And just connect with yourself for a little bit while. See your heart as a lotus flower that's opening and expanding and expanding. See a bright light and feel all the love and all the positive energy in your heart. Now take this love and light and bring it to the center of your forehead and let it purify your mind. Bring it to your eyes and let it purify your sight. Bring it to your nose and let it purify your breathing. Bring it to your ears and let it purify your hearing. Bring it to your mouth and let it purify your speech. Bring it to your hands and let it purify your action. Bring it to your legs and feet and let it purify your path so that it always brings you to the right path. Now bring this love and light back to your heart center. Now, as you see on your screen, place your hand in front of your heart, keeping it a little bit further apart. Now close your eyes again. Now all this love and this light and this positive energy that you felt inside of your heart, visualize Mother Earth in between the palm of your hands and send all this love and all this light and all this positive energy to her. Offer to her all your love and gratitude. Just thank her. Thank her for everything that she gives to us. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. Just offer to her all your love, all your gratitude, and all your positive energy. Now, visualize the plants and the trees. And offer all this love and all this light and positive energy to the plants and trees. Send it to the earth, the animals, the animals that are currently suffering right now. Send it to all those places where there's deforestation, tsunamis, earthquakes, people suffering. Visualize your country and your hometown. Send all this love and light and positive energy. Visualize your loved ones, your mom and dad, your brother and sister, your family, your friends, your beloved, and just send them lots of love, light, and positive energy. Send it to this world currently, even to the COVID situation, for all the people that are suffering. Send it to the president and his ministers that they may rule this country wisely. Send it to anyone that you know that has some situation in their life that needs healing right now. Now bring this love and light back to your heart center. And focus on yourself. Wherever parts in you that needs healing, send this love and light to it. Feel this love and light. Keep it in your heart. And know that you are an instrument of the divine. And take it wherever you go, with whoever you meet, and just share this love with everybody. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. Okay, you can open your eyes. So I hope you all enjoyed that meditation. It's just something you can do every day to connect yourself with the earth, but also it's about spreading love and light and positivity to everybody on this planet. So I would like to take a few minutes to just tell everybody who's new on the call a little bit about the Religions for Peace Interfaith Youth Climate Forum. And I encourage, as an icebreaker, to please introduce yourself by posting a message on our chat screen. Tell us your name, your country, which organization you're from, and share with us your favorite vegan meal. You can do that on the chat screen. So the IYCF was born out of the Our Earth, Our Responsibility campaign by Religions for Peace International Global Interfaith Youth Network. It's a global multi-religious youth-led campaign that seeks to educate, engage, and advocate on behalf of our earth by mobilizing people of faith and people of goodwill to protect our shared planet against the ravages of climate change and its disproportionate effects on the poor and vulnerable communities. So IYCF's goal became to educate the community on climate change, to empower the voice of the youth, and to impact the earth, the local community, and people's lives in a positive way. And to achieve its goal, this youth-led campaign focused to facilitate a local climate movement through various planned activities incorporating aspects of religion, spirituality, but with climate change being the main focus and driving factor. So you can visit our Facebook page to review our past activities. I will just share my screen to just share with you guys. So let me just share my screen. As you can see, this is our Facebook page. It's been building momentum. And this is our latest video we have released, which is celebrating 3 years of existence and all that we've been doing. You can catch us there on Facebook and watch our video, but also be in touch with us with whatever we're sharing and we're doing, like today's webinar. And there's another upcoming webinar with another interfaith organization. So we want you to engage with us, be active with us. I will share the link on the chat, but also you will catch our webinars on the Religions for Peace South Africa YouTube account as well. So be sure to catch us there. Okay. So a little bit about Veganuary. I just want to share my screen again. So I want to share an article that I came across. It's a very interesting article that talks about Veganuary and why we're actually doing this webinar today. So as you can see, sorry, sharing my screen. So Veganuary is when someone pledges to eat a vegan diet for the duration of January. And today is like the second last day of January, and we wanted to celebrate this Veganuary month. It means that people commit to eating no animal products or byproducts for the whole month. And the idea was founded in 2014 when a couple from New York, Jane Land and Matthew Glover, created a nonprofit organization which asked people to pledge online to eat vegan for January. So participants signed up online and they used their website to build a community support. And so this is where Veganuary really started. And what I find so interesting here is that they give some stats. And they say here that the Rainforest Partnership claimed that 65 to 70% of all Amazon deforestation has been caused by beef production, with some authorities claiming the figure is higher. The meat industry creates huge amounts of greenhouse gas emissions from livestock, water shortages. One hamburger takes 660 gallons of water to make, and ocean dead zones caused by agriculture pollution. So if the planet is able to support the 10 billion people expected to be alive in 2050, research from the journal Nature suggests that a reduction in the consumption of meat of 90% may be required. Another reason why people go vegan is for animal welfare, and they're more aware of industrial farming practices, such as the removal of newborn calves from their mothers. And so most people likely do not want to support the industry. And especially in our faith, like in Hinduism, we're taught about where the cow is revered. So that's why most Hindus aim towards being vegetarian or vegan. And so I found this a very interesting article, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, just to touch a little bit on why we're celebrating Veganuary. And the second thing I want to share with you guys is about a book, right? And then we'll go straight into our speakers who are going to share their recipes with us. So this book I want to share with y'all is actually called Confessions of an Eco-Sinner, and it's a very exciting book. It's about tracking down the sources of my stuff. So I would recommend you guys to buy this book, or if you can, get hold of it. And what this book is about is it talks about this guy who literally takes 5 household items and he tracks them down. So it's like chocolate, it's like coffee, his shirt made out of cotton. And it's interesting because he tracks down the carbon footprint of all these items. And if you really want to know about the industry and about mass production and consumerism, I would recommend you read this book, because he goes about talking about how tracking down where his shirt was actually like made back in Bangladesh, and he goes back to talking about child slavery. He goes about talking about the chocolate and the ingredients in it, which is like an ingredient called palm oil, which is actually has led to the deforestation of like many trees, leaving the orangutans homeless. So he goes into very much depth about talking about how waste, even from rich European countries, is shipped to poor African countries and Asian countries, and it all ends up in the landfill, and like how waste from rich countries is shipped to poor countries just to get rid of waste. And so I think it's a very interesting book, and I wanted to share that with you guys because it tracks down about our carbon footprint and how we should be wiser in the choices we make, in the things we eat, and in the lifestyle that we live. So I thought that was very interesting. So today we are focusing on how to eat and live simple, live a holistic lifestyle in accordance with the earth by reducing our carbon footprint, but at the same time trying to unravel the connection between our various faith, spirituality, religions, and being vegan. So this webinar is aimed at sharing and learning with each other, and it's meant to be fun. So I hope all you guys have a great time. So we'll start off with our first speaker today, which is Mr. Delwyn Pillay. He's from the Christian faith. He's a member of Greenpeace Africa and the Food Connect campaign, and he's also involved in recipes for a healthy Africa cookbook. So, hi, Delwyn. Thanks for being on our webinar today, and thank you for joining us. And we look forward to hear from you and learning from you.
Thanks, Ali. Really excited to be on this platform and sharing my recipes and celebrating the month of Veganuary. So maybe just a bit of background. So as Mary said, I'm with Greenpeace Africa, and I'm part of the local group Delwyn. So one of the initiatives of the Greenpeace Africa volunteers was this recipe book called For Healthy Africa, because Greenpeace Africa has volunteers in several other countries, Senegal, Kenya, DRC, and South Africa. And really, this cookbook wants to challenge us to cook more plant-based and also use more of our indigenous crops and vegetables. Because unfortunately, a lot of our indigenous crops and vegetables get overlooked for the more conventional ingredients. And usually those conventional ingredients have a higher footprint. Because if you look at our indigenous crops, they're really resilient and they don't need much input. So they drought resilience and so forth. Mary, if you can share the link to the cookbook, and then I'll talk a bit more about my recipe that I submitted on there. So that cookbook is on the Greenpeace Africa website, and anyone can submit their recipe on there. It'll go through to see it meets all the criteria, if it's plant-based, and yeah. So there's been really exciting recipes that's been submitted. One we had for vegan malva pudding. I was like quite surprised because that's a traditional South African pudding, and it was encouraging to see that was given a vegan twist to that. So the recipe that I submitted on is Imifino. Imifino is isiZulu word. It's basically a reference to various leafy greens. For example, amaranth. You get several varieties of amaranth, and these are like our traditional crops. So like the mbuya, your red herbs, your pumpkin tops, and the Bhaji leaves, or it's more internationally known as New Zealand spinach. And so these are crops that you can even find growing wild in a lot of places. For example, the New Zealand spinach, if you go along the coastline, you'll find it growing along the dunes. And so people can freely forage for it and cook with it. So for this particular recipe, I selected the New Zealand spinach. And for us as KZN Indian community, a lot of us know it as Bhaji. And sometimes we mix it with the Bhaji mix. But I made it, as we know, for this recipe. So that's the end product. If you scroll down, we'll give you little details of how you cook it. It's really simple. So yeah, so that's the basic ingredients is onions. Just gonna read off my PC for a sec. So you need cooking oil, onions, garlic, sweet potato. So the sweet potato is the twist that I added to this recipe, this traditional recipe. And the New Zealand spinach or any other suitable spinach or leafy green vegetable. Dried chili, and that's optional if you like to spice up your meal, and add a bit of flavor and salt. The method is simple. Just add oil to the pan on a low heat until the oil is hot, but it shouldn't be smoking. Then you add, you chop your onions, then the garlic to soften. And then you add, so you look at your onions to brown a bit, and then you add your sweet potatoes. I use so all these ingredients came from my garden, and I picked the young sweet potatoes because they cook really fast. So Jenny, you fry for about 15 minutes or until the sweet potatoes soften up, and you continuously stir to avoid from burning and sticking to the pan. And then once your sweet potato has softened up, then you add your Imifino or whatever leafy green. In this case, it was the New Zealand spinach or Bhaji leaves. And then once the spinach has wilted down, then you mix it up with the onion and garlic, and you add a little bit of water to cover the pan with the lid, and then you let it cook on a low heat for about 15 minutes or so. And yeah, and then it's after 15 minutes, it's pretty much ready to be served and enjoyed. You can enjoy it with roti. I particularly like with putu or rice and dal. That's my favorite, to have a rice and dal. Thanks, Merylene.
Thanks, Delwyn, for sharing that with us. Is it a traditional South African dish or African dish, or?
Traditional South African dish and African dish. In the other African countries, they usually add peanuts in it, and that gives a more peanutty flavor. So yeah, but that's optional. You don't have to go that route.
Okay, cool. And how would you say, like, you from the Christian faith, so do you eat a lot of this kind of meal, and how would you relate it back to your faith?
Back to my faith. So my faith is a lot about conscious eating. So we usually say a prayer, and that's being grateful for the food that we've been served, and also to think about the process of how that food got into your plate. So in terms of conscious eating, every single spoon that you put in your mouth, you think about where it came from and the process that went into the cooking. And so when you think, if you grow the food, it just adds more value and appreciation of that, or the story behind that. And I call it spiritual food. It's just a deepening level of consciousness. And that very much ties in with my religion. Though I have to say, we don't have, as a Christian faith, we don't really have restrictions in terms of any specific food. So we can eat meat, but there has been a growing awareness of eating much less meat and more plant-based. Because if you think about previous generation, there wasn't this large-scale industrial production of meat. So when meat was consumed, it was a big thing, and every single part of the animal was used. And nowadays, it's taken for granted. Life is taken for granted. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
It does. Thanks, Delwyn. And in terms of fasting, I know the Christian faith, you'll do a lot of fasting as well, isn't it?
We do. We're supposed to fast, and that's part of meditation, to cleanse yourself and to be in line with the spirit of the body and Christ. And it's usually during the Easter time, during the passing of Christ, and to just being conscious and aware of that period of suffering.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know if there's many Christians on the call. Maybe Mark can help out here. You do the Daniel and the lentil fast as well, right?
Oh yeah. So Merylene, I think for myself, being a follower of the Catholic faith, we do have Lent, and I think Delwyn also, in terms of the Anglican faith, they also do Lent. So Lent is a 40-day period of abstinence, and many of the followers of the faith, they usually abstain from meat. And I think also people from the Pentecostal faith, they do have the Daniel fast, but I'm not too clear on that that fast. And I know I don't know about Delwyn, but for Catholics on a Friday, it's abstinence from meat. So on a Friday, it's an abstinence, a day of abstinence. So we don't eat meat. And Delwyn is also right. There's been a move away from consuming meat to the extent that it used to be. Was that it's more or less trying to go the environmental friendly way.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
just to add on. So that period, we eat more of fish. I think because the tradition and Christ was the fisherman of folk, and in the story of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Delwyn. So Delwyn, stay on. We'll call you back later for an intense discussion that we have planned at the end of the webinar, just for us to engage with each other and learn a bit more. So now we'll move on to our next speaker, and it's Miss Nita Makanjee. She's BrahmaKumari, and she's a member of the Cape Town Interfaith Initiative, South African Faith and Family Institute, and the Western Cape Religious Leaders Forum. And she's going to be sharing some exciting recipes with us. She has a live demonstration. We are so excited, and we're so happy to have her on the call. So welcome, Nita.
Hi, Merylene. Thank you very much. I hope my sound is okay. So it's great to be here. And today I'm going to be sharing 2 recipes. I don't know if you can hear me, Merylene.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I actually am vegan currently. I transitioned from vegetarian to vegan in about 2014. And it was actually inspired by a documentary that I watched. I can't remember the name. And the thing that got me was when I heard about the impact of the resource of water that's used in terms of the, not just the meat industry, but also dairy. And so just the stats that you shared earlier, when you put it in numbers, it does create the awareness of the big impact of that. And so it's been an easy transition for me. And so today I'm going to share some 2 recipes, and I'm going to get straight into it. The first thing I'm going to demonstrate is a sweet corn fritters. So it's not a meal, really, more like a snack, an appetizer. Sometimes I have it for breakfast if I feel inspired. And so I've got in this bowl half a cup of cake flour, and then half a cup of rice flour. Why you could use cake flour on its own, but rice flour gives crispiness to the fritters itself. So in here, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm going to put some salt. I tend to eat with less salt. So the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. I'm going to settle for 1 teaspoon because I'm going to end up eating this. And then I have here ground coriander powder. So the coriander, the seeds that you get, you grind it. You can buy it at Indian spice shops as well. And I'm putting 2 teaspoons of that. This is optional. It is crushed green chilies. I like a bit of spice in my food, not too much. So I'm just going to add a 1/2 teaspoon, but it's up to you what you want to add in there. And then to that, I'm going to add a tin of sweet corn. I've used a little bit less than a tin. but you add cream-style sweet corn into that. So it's easy, you just mix everything up together. I've got a little bit of cayenne pepper. Again, it's optional. I'm just going to put half a teaspoon in of that. Some lemon juice. So I would say that's about a tablespoon or two. You can add more if you want something a bit more tangy. And then we've got some other vegetables which we're going to add. I've prepared 1 cup, not 1 cup, 1 potato that's been skinned and then grated. This just gives a less floury feeling to the fritters. And then because I had lots of green peppers in my fridge, I decided to add a little bit of this. So this is like 1/4 of a green pepper, which I'm going to stick in there. And then we've got some celery stalks. I've got about 1.5 to 2 celery stalks in there. One of the things that we do at the BrahmaKumaris while we're cooking, it's about holding conscious awareness, because the understanding that we have is my outer world is a reflection of my inner world. And so just a sense of when I'm cooking, I'm in a space of peace, of love, of just being relaxed, not agitated or not stressed, because whatever it is that I prepare is going to be imparted in my food, because it is a vibration that I create and I generate. And then whoever eats that food does to some extent get influenced by that energy. And so I'm just going to mix this a little bit. And we want a thickish batter. And so it's still very dry. So I'm going to add some water, and really it's up to you to see how much water you need. Rather do it in small little increments, because obviously you don't want it to be too runny, but you want a nice pouring consistency, but not too runny either. The other aspect of the BrahmaKumaris, and I think Delwyn spoke about it as, praying before eating. One of the practices that we have is whatever is prepared, it's offered to God as well in the form of meditation. And so we put it on a little tray, and whoever is around and whoever's going to partake in the meal, we just sit and we meditate for about 5 to 10 minutes. And the understanding behind it is, one, is that giving thanks to the food that we've received. But secondly, it's also about understanding the power and the energy of God's vibrations, that when it comes into this physical world, into the food we eat, it holds nutrition. Because I think we can agree the food nowadays don't have much nutritional value, and so it's a way of sustaining and supporting the body. So I think this is more or less done. I'm going to add a little bit more water and get a go at it. So you want a consistency that's kind of like that. It doesn't look too appetizing at this point, but I guarantee once you have it, it's quite lovely. I've got a pan here, and I'm just going to add enough oil to coat the bottom of the pan. I try not to cook with too much oil, just because it's not healthy, I think. So I'm just going to add a little bit, enough to coat the pan. It's important that when you make this recipe, you have a good non-stick frying pan, because rice flour tends to stick to the surface of the pan or the pot that you're using. So would suggest get a good pan that has a good non-stick function. And then all we do, I'm just going to grab another spoon, is that you take a little bit and you spoon it in, and then gently you just sort of flatten it out. If you can get it circular, I think that's first prize. If not, no big deal. As a friend once said, it's going to get mixed up and smashed when I eat it anyway, so not to stress too much about it. You want to try and make it as flat as you can so that it crisps nicely and it's not chewy or doughy. And so this is on a medium-high heat. I'm just going to put those in there. And we're going to give it a few minutes to just brown on both sides. Usually it takes around 3 to 4 minutes. So we're going to leave this to cook, and I'll have a look now and again. And I'm going to go on to my second recipe, which is not that healthy. I've got Carol that's helping me here. Not that healthy, but quite delicious. And sometimes for those that have a sweet tooth, I think you might appreciate this. I'm going to make a vegan chocolate cake. And so I have in this bowl 3 cups of cake flour, so normal cake flour. And I'm going to add in there 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. It's important, there is an important component. I've got here 1 3/4 cups of sugar. If you don't want it as sweet, please feel free to just adjust it, and you can put less sugar. And then I've got cocoa powder, and I'm just going to grab my cup here quickly. And you need a 1/3 cup of cocoa. So this is a 1/2 cup recipe, so I'm just going to add more or less what I think is a 1/3 cup. Again, doesn't have to be exact. If you go a little bit extra, anything chocolatey helps a little bit. We're going to give that a good stir so that the cocoa mixes quite nicely. And then in a separate jug, we're going to measure out 50 mils of vinegar. I use white grape vinegar. You could use any other kind. I don't appreciate spirit vinegar, so I'm going to use white grape vinegar. That's 50 mils of that. And then we've got 3/4 cups of cooking oil, vegetable oil. I'm using sunflower oil. This is a 1/2 cup, so I'm going to add that in. And a little bit of that. And then about 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence. That looked like 2 teaspoons, I think. We're going to give that a good mix. And then to that mixture, we're going to add 2 cups of boiling water. Now it has to be boiled because that somehow seems to do the trick in making it light. So I'm just going to measure 2 cups, more or less. And we'll keep that aside in case we need more. And I'm going to pause there for a moment to just have a look at our fritters. Yep, we can give it a good turn. And we'll continue. And so just give this a good mix. And then it's just a simple process of adding that into your dry mixture. When you add it, you'll see it will begin to kind of froth a little bit. And the reason for that is because of the vinegar and the bicarb, the 2 of them have some sort of reaction. And so we're just going to give that a good a good mix. And what I like about this recipe, it's actually called a one-pan cake because you just need almost just one container to make it. But the thing I like about it is it doesn't require a lot of beating, just to make sure that there's no lumps of flour. And that's kind of the texture you're looking for. And that's more or less it. What you do then is you put this into a baking tray. I usually do it in 2 baking trays. And it's baked for 30 minutes at 180 degrees. Obviously, just insert a fork or a spoon to see if it is ready. And so I made a sample because I don't think we'll have a chance to see the end product, but this is something I made earlier, and it's just got a little bit of non-dairy cream as well. So you can decorate it or even just eat it plain as well. And I'm just going to have a quick look at our fritters. Yep, these are done. So we're just going to take it out. You could leave it a little bit more, but because of time, I'm going to switch it off now. And hopefully you can have a look. And a little bit brown wouldn't hurt, but that's what it's looked. It's best eaten raw. And it goes great with a tomato sauce or a tomato chutney that has a bit of chili as well. So hopefully you did get that. I think I steamrolled past it, but Merylene did say she will send you the recipes if you are interested. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Nita. Wow, I'm feeling so hungry now and I haven't eaten lunch yet. All these recipes are making me hungry. Wow, this looks amazing. And I mean, I love that you shared with us a chocolate vegan cake, because lots of people have been asking the question, like, how do you substitute eggs to make a vegan cake? Or how do you substitute like the milk and stuff like that? Do you have any alternatives that you use and substitute?
You know, I do. If it's milk, it's easy, soya milk, almond milk. But actually, I've got into the habit of where something asks for milk, I just use water because, unfortunately, I think as we all are aware, vegan isn't a cheap option. The cost of going vegan is a little bit higher than if you had, just even a vegetarian diet. So where a recipe calls for milk, I just put water because I figure, well, almond milk has a small percentage of almond, soya milk has a small percentage of soya, most of it's water anyway. And I must admit, it works perfectly fine. And I've discovered that if I need to make sour milk, some of the Indian recipes have got sour milk. And so I just take soya milk, I put some lemon juice in it, and it curdles and has the same effect. So I feel it's just experimenting and seeing what works and what's easy. And just trying. I guess that's it, just trying.
That's true, because I'm also a vegan baker. I just finished making like 30 cupcakes for a baby shower. So I actually used the recipe of the buttermilk that you spoke about. They call it buttermilk, vegan buttermilk, with the soya milk and adding some lemon, and it gives that rich texture to it, but also it makes it tasty. So being vegan doesn't have to be boring, but at the same time, it's true what you said. Products are very expensive, and you go out into vegan restaurants, everything is very expensive. So we are looking at a cost-effective, affordable way to live holistically with the earth, and you've just shared an amazing recipe with us. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for also sharing about the consciousness and about the effect of food on the mind. And also I see the commonality like with Delwyn and Mark and what you have shared. And also in the Hindu faith is like prayer is so important. Everybody offer what they receive back to the Lord and pray. Especially in Hinduism too, we also like chant a prayer before we eat. And also what you said about the energy when you're cooking is so important because a lot of in our faith as well, like we chant while we cook or we stay positive or send love and think of positive energy because everything is energy and it affects everything. If you have anger and if you whatever you feel, if you put that in your food, you're just sending negative energy to people. So thank you for touching on that. That was amazing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. See you later.
See you later. We will have a discussion a bit more later. Okay, so thank you, Nita. And let's go to our next speaker. And that is Kurveshan Perumaul. So he's also from the Hindu faith. He's a member of Children and Youth Interfaith Network, Religions for Peace South Africa, and the Religions for Peace Interfaith Youth Climate Forum. And we're so happy to have him on the call. And Kurveshan got some exciting recipes to share with us. Hi, Kurveshan, you there?
Hi, Merylene. Thank you so much. I offer my most loving salutation to the divinity present in all that is manifest and unmanifest. Dearest brothers and sisters, greeting to one and all. Thank you for joining in and allowing me this opportunity to share with you guys some of my my recipes. So I'm currently in my room. I'm going to stop the video and take a walk outside, right? So I just want to share with you guys in terms of our teachings and what our spiritual scriptures state to us. My loving God and spirit states that God is all pervasive and is the indweller of all beings. Likewise, the 5 elements, which are nothing but divine manifestations, are also all pervasive and all powerful. So the whole world is pervaded by the 5 elements. We're bound by the 5 elements, and it functions because of the 5 elements. Mankind or the planet or existence will not function if one of these elements are absent. So in our faith, it's heavily practiced in giving gratitude and offering gratitude to the elements. And you see it in some South Indian festivals like Pongal, where the cows are actually decorated and they've given milk baths. The crops are harvested and just a gratitude and prayer is offered to the elements for giving us this grain, for giving us sustenance. We pray to the sun for the energy, for the light, the rain, the clouds. Every single aspect in that life cycle is acknowledged and gratitude is given. So in giving gratitude, gosh, like I've been telling Merylene this for so little bit time, but I'm gonna, forgive me if I rush through this, okay, guys? But I want to share with you my garden and what my dad, my family, and what we've tried to achieve at home, right? So the first thing I want to show you is, this is the side of our home. And as you can see, there's the gutter on the top, right? And it runs all through the side. And we've taken a pipe, right? Just with going to the DIY store, and it cost us like about $150 just to get extra gutter pipe and these joints. And we've joined that to a tank, right? Now, I know JoJo tanks are costly. You don't have to get a tank. We initially started off with this, which is a bin, right? And it's amazing how much of water fills up within like 10 minutes of rain. Like this whole thing comes full and she starts overflowing from here. And we've done a little pipe, a tap there. So this water is used. Here we go. So this water is used to water the garden. And like we've been gardening for a bit, and it's unbelievable how the plants just flourish with natural rainwater. Okay, so in terms of conserving water, that's one of the things you can do. You don't necessarily have to invest in solar. Like I say, it's all about ducting water from your gutter into another place that you can catch this water and reuse it. Okay, in terms of upcycling, I'm going to show you something that my mom did here. So this was a kitchen dish, and it got cracked, right? And she filled it up with soil, and she started a little herb garden. So you can see there's rosemary here. There's some chives growing in here. We've got little pots of mint you can do. So if anybody is scared about gardening, right, I would suggest you start with a herb garden. It's the most easiest and low maintenance thing to start with. You can start it with a little pot as well. A little pot of thyme, you know, and every time you go to the store, you're paying like 10 rand for a handful of that. We've got fresh mint here, there's basil. We've been trying a lot of things, to be fair, guys. I want to just show you this little greenhouse we've got here. These are double beans that's been creeping. You can see some double beans hanging out there. We've cleared it out for the season. There is a brinjal growing there, and there's a lemon tree, there's a chili tree somewhere down here. So look, you don't have to go big and extravagant. You can use up the little space that you have. If you live in an apartment, you can just get an old dish or an old container, an ice cream container, fill it up with sand. You don't even have to go into compost and manure and anything fancy like that. Just regular dirt, sand, and I promise you things will grow. Okay, so that's a little tour of my garden. I want to now take you guys to what we're gonna do, right? So today on the menu, we have got a veg fried rice and a tomato salsa. Now, the thing I've been hearing consistently is that veg or going vegan is costly. So I'm going to show you a really cost-effective meal for the family. And we have this probably like once a week, and it's made with day-old rice. So if you have extra rice that's prepared, that's in the fridge, preferably in the fridge because it needs to be cold, right? You can just toss this around. So I'm just going to show you the ingredients here. So I've pre-cut all my veg. Look, I haven't made a recipe because again, it all depends on what you have or what you can acquire from the soil, okay, during season. And honestly, as I'm going through this, you can take notes. I will share the recipe after we're done. I don't cook with measurements. I just throw it all in the pot, okay? Mind that. So let's begin. Firstly, I'm gonna put you on the stand. Okay, then let my hands quick wash. All right, so let's jump straight into it, guys. So when thinking about considering going vegan, right, there's a few pantry staples that you need to have. First thing for cooking veg, non-stick pan, okay? It helps because veg don't have much fat in them when cooking with meat. A lot of fat comes out during the cooking process, so it assists with that. So you need to have some healthy fat in there while cooking your veg, right? So I'm not putting anything in it. I'm just gonna go, let this get nicer and warmed up. So I'm gonna throw the mushrooms in without any oil because I want the mushrooms to get slightly charred. The mushroom will have a lovely nutty taste when you try it dry like this. And also mushrooms have a very huge moisture content, right? Massive water content. So you want to sweat the mushrooms out because when you sweat them out, it gives you a very chewy, meaty taste when you're eating it, right? So hot pan. We're gonna just let that go away. Okay, so let me just talk to you about some pantry staples, right? When going vegan. Something that you might want to consider is soy sauce. Soy sauce is really good to control sodium in your meals. It's good to add flavor. You know, I really love Japanese or Asian cuisine because they use so much of natural ingredients to get something that's called, they've actually dubbed this taste a term. It's called umami, you know, where it hits all the notes of sweet, sour, salty, tangy, acidic. It hits all the notes on your taste buds. So you can really taste this. I should have actually pre-warmed oven, but okay. Merylene, how am I doing for time?
You do okay.
Okay, good, good. So another thing that we try to cook with is, okay, this I can hear something happening here. Another pantry staple, which you can get from the Asian cuisine stores, would be miso paste. Miso paste is actually it's a soybean, a fermented soybean, and it's made into a paste. It adds this really rich, wholesome, nutty flavor to your dishes as well. Don't worry, the dish wouldn't be too nutty, but it will be really like comfort food, right? So you can hear this pan is going on. I'm not sure if you guys can hear, because I'm using my headphones, but okay. So we're just sweating this out a bit. Praying or offering your meal to God before you actually partake of it, okay? And there's something that in my faith that we always do before partaking food, right? Is that we offer the food to God before you actually eat it. And one of the methods to do that is you can purely, and believe me, like it's so interfaith that you can just say, dear God, I offer this plate of food to you. Please enjoy it or have a bite first, right? Or alternatively, we've been taught the food prayer, which I will recite to you guys. I'm just trying to concentrate on those mushrooms not burning, right? You can see that it's sweating, being sweat out there, right? Okay. So just some fun facts to engage with you, or some stories to engage with you while I'm cooking, right? Is that in India, when an experiment was conducted, right, there's something called a Kirlian camera. So the Kirlian camera was used from World War II to actually get energy or radiation fields, right, to take pictures of that, to detect these things. And a plate of food was, they used a Kirlian camera to take a photo of a plate of food prior to saying the food prayer. And after they recited the food prayer, when they took a photo afterwards, they actually saw a blue aura or glow around the plate of food, which showed that you actually energize the food. You literally energize the food before eating it, or just by the act of saying the food prayer, you energize the food, and now you're consuming that energy. Okay. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but the mushrooms reduced nicely, and the water's been coming out and just smoking up. So to that, I'm gonna throw in onions. I haven't put in oil yet, guys. I have not put in oil yet. So load the onion. I'm gonna smoke it just for a little bit and then choose that. Add maybe about 2 tablespoons of oil. Hot pan, it's all frying. Right. So again, you can cook with whatever veg you have available. Don't feel compelled, but also you got to take into consideration the types of veg and how they cook. So to that, I'm adding carrots. So that was one medium-sized onion that I added. I'm adding 2 carrots that's been diced up. I'm adding about a handful of green beans. I weighed it. It came in like about 100 grams. And believe me, guys, this meal, like carrots is $7.99 for a kilo. Green beans is a bit expensive at the moment, but this pot of food would probably set you back like less than $100. Okay, so again, going vegan is not something costly. It's something you just gotta really take time and apply yourself, and wow, magic, right? So we got all this going in. Now, to this little stir fry mix. Gonna fry it up here. To this stir fry mix, right? I am adding some miso paste with a tablespoon of light soy sauce, tablespoon of dark soy sauce. Then I add about a tablespoon of sesame oil. Oops. So again, I haven't cooked live in front of people, so I am omitting a few things, but I made a small well. I'm going to add some ginger in here. To that, I'm giving you about 3 chilies. You can like de-seed them if you don't like them, or you can reduce chilies or just not use chili at all. I'm not de-seeding them. No. Guys, to the same mix, we are going to add a bit of black vinegar, another bit of Pantry Staples, right? Really adds a nice acidic feel to this food. Again, you don't have to add all this. You can just add regular sauce. So something I'm using is sweet chili sauce as well. I'm gonna put a tablespoon of that for some sweetness. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go with about a tablespoon of garlic in this. You see how I'm cheating and I'm trying to make a well and fry this off. Let that toast the bread. Merylene, how's it on time there?
You got 5 minutes.
I feel like I'm on a competition here. Right, so this whole little mix here, right? Once you can see that your garlic is just, you can get the smell of it and it's hitting. I'm gonna throw this in, right? So coming along, right? While I'm talking to you on that, so there's 2 things that I'm making here. One is veg fried rice, and the other is a tomato and chickpea salsa. There we go, that's perfect. You just add all this in. And we're gonna roll this together. Okay, and I'm not just saying this, but now the smells that are coming out from this is something really good, okay? Okay, so to this, I am going to add a bit of fresh thyme. Okay, there. Put a few herbs. Okay, salt, brown pepper. Okay, again, hot pan, right? Because we don't want to kill the veg. You don't want to overcook it. All right, now into, let me just show you what I'm doing here. All right, I've got a can of chickpeas. Okay, again, chickpeas, it's about $15 for a can. I'm just gonna go in with a can of chickpeas on this, right? Again, chickpeas is another form of good protein when you're considering to go vegan or vegetarian. Good source of protein, legumes especially, okay? Keep this briny water. Don't throw this away because this water is really good, okay? I'm gonna pause this a bit. So we're gonna pause it a tad bit. To that, I'm going in with about 4 tomatoes. Almost forgot my pepper. Robot pack pepper, okay. Okay, 1/2 onion into that, probably about 3 chilies into that. Okay. Right, guys. Now that your veg is ready, okay, because the veg is kind of cooked. Now it's ready to throw in your rice to it. So again, a pot of day-old rice that's been in the fridge. So the rice is nice and cool. I'm just gonna go in on the top with it. Okay. Just now mix this back and turn the heat down a tad. And voila, you have veg fried rice. Okay, to that, I'm just gonna put in about a lemon. Catch all those seeds. Okay. And mint, and some dhania. Just going to use the leaves of the dhania. And we're going to take all that together. I just roughly chop it, guys. Don't have to get fancy about it. And there we have it, right? Veg fried rice. Okay, now coming back here to our salsa. Okay, in the same one, we're going in with half a lemon juice, sorry. No seeds, you catch all those seeds, please. Okay, what else I got? So I'm gonna go in, so the stalks, I kept the stalks from the dhania, put that in as well. And we're gonna go with a bit more of dhania. And some mint and basil. Mint, basil, put a more mint, more basil. Okay. And a couple of almonds if you wish. Okay. While that's going, I'm just going to put in a bit of olive oil. And tablespoon of some vinegar. A thumb size of ginger. About 3 or 4 garlics. Okay. Right, and to our rice, sorry, this is another condiment that I'm adding. It's a fruit and nut breakfast mix. So it's got pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, it's got nuts, it's got dried fruit and berries, and that really gives a total different taste and dimension to rice when you're eating, because you get the soft rice, you get the sweet and tangy onions and carrots, and then you get these small hits of nuts and these crackles of the seeds within your mouth. It's just, it's an adventure of taste, right? And we'll stir that in. Let's just take our thingy there. Right. So if you want to add, like, mix up the consistency of this, I'm going to add in maybe about 3 to 4 tablespoons of that water, that briny water that your chickpeas go with, right? Okay. And now what we're gonna do, toss it around. Okay, I don't think the whole pot will fit here. I promise you, I'm not this messy on a general day, right? Just because of time constraints. And then okay, thank you people for your loving patience with me. So this is what I've created. Can you see? Okay, let's just go to there. There we go. So veg fried rice and a tomato and chickpea salsa. Enjoy, okay? So guys, again, going vegan, it's not meant to be costly. You're trying to save the planet and you shouldn't be built for saving the planet. Again, if you're smart about it, you can find ways and methods. And look, find out your friendly grocer, find out when there's market days, pantry staples, regular pantry staples and fresh veg. You can create something amazing. Thank you. Merylene?
Wow, thank you, Kurveshan. That was amazing. I'm even more hungry now, and I wish this webinar was like physical so we could like eat the stuff and taste it. It's a we online due to COVID situation, but thank you. That was really amazing. You're such a master chef.
It's a pleasure. We try.
Nice. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing also like the words of wisdom about your faith and how it connects to the whole consciousness of eating. But I was really impressed with the simplicity of your garden and the simple things we can do in our daily lives to actually like make things more efficient for us, but also not depending on like the extravagant technologies out there, which we cannot afford sometimes. And just the little simple things really can make something go a long way for us. So I really appreciated that, the organic living and the do-it-yourself kind of interventions as well. And thank you. Was the dish that you prepared, was it Thai or was it Indian?
We'll call it South African, right? Because it's just got so many elements of so many different flavors. I don't know what to call it.
Sounds
but
amazing.
I just want to touch. So we were all, sorry, something I missed out is that everybody was saying a prayer. And again, I said that we're so consistent in all faiths. So if I can I just recite the food prayer? And I'll just explain it to you. So, Brahma Rapanam Brahmavir Brahmatno Brahmanahutam Brahme Vaitekna Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinaha Aham Vaisvanarubhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayukta Pacham Yanam Chaturvitam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the meaning of this prayer is as such: the whole creation being the gross projection of Brahman, the cosmic consciousness itself. The food too is Brahman. The process of offering it is Brahman. It is being offered in the fire of Brahman. He who thus sees that Brahman is action reaches Brahman alone. I, the Supreme Spirit, abiding in the body of living beings as the fire in their stomach, I am associated with their prana and apana. Digest the 4 types of food, being solids, fluid, semi-fluid, and liquid, which they eat. So prana and apana is the manifest and the unmanifest. So that's our food prayer, or the food prayer that we would recite at home.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm definitely going to try out that recipe. Thank you. So stay on. We will chat a bit more later after our next speaker. And so our next speaker is Catania Lakshmi. Lutchminarayan. I hope I got your surname right. I'm so sorry. She's a member of South African Faith Communities Environment Institute, also known as SAFC, and Religions for Peace South Africa and Religions for Peace Interfaith Youth Climate Forum. And she's a Hindu, and we're so happy to have her on the call with us. Hi, Kirtanya, welcome, and thank you for being with us and sharing your recipe.
Thanks, Merylene. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I recognize so many familiar faces. So thank you all for making the time. And I am really hungry. I don't know about you. So I'm going to try and make you vegan tacos really quickly. I'm sure everyone's appetite has been worked with the previous cooks, home chefs, we can call them, because, wow, there's really a lot of talent here. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So let me get straight to it. Hopefully you can hear me and see me well. I've got the oven on in the background preheating for my tacos. So it's pretty much done. So I'll switch that off just so we can have a bit more clarity. So today I'm making vegan tacos. One of my favorite things to eat. I love Mexican food, and something I've also brought into my family home, where it's not a traditional Indian food you'd find in an Indian home, but you know, my dad thinks it's very similar to papadums, so he loves it. And it's the hard shell tacos we're making today. So if you haven't tried it, I suggest you do. We'll try and do this in 15 minutes. So here I've got my ingredients and my pan's on. So I've got everything going in the background. I have onions, so about a medium onion, and then 1.5 tomatoes. I've estimated the amounts because I too don't really cook with measurements. We've got some garlic, so crushed garlic, about 1.5 spoons. And I've just used a small chili chopped up. Depends on your taste entirely. So I'd rather add less to start out with and then do a bit more later on if I need. And then a small can of tomato paste, an avo, some lettuce for garnishing and for the taco itself if you wish. And then I'm using black beans. So I have these cool black beans that I've drained and kept aside. And to season, I've got salt and black pepper and paprika. I love paprika, it's my new favorite spice. And then we have our tacos. So I've got some of these ready. And that's what the box looks like. Well, that's the tacos that I got. You can find it at any retailer, and they come 12 in a box. So I find that they last quite a long time. And very, very worth your while. So let's get started. So I would recommend preheating your oven at this point so that when your fillings are cooked, you can pop your tacos in the oven to crisp and everything gets ready together in that way. So I'm going to just move my laptop so you can also just see what's going on here at the stove. So my pan is like heated on medium heat, and I'm going to start with a little bit of olive oil. Not too much, like Nita mentioned. I also prefer not to cook with a lot of oil, but I choose olive oil or coconut oil when I do cook with dishes that require oil. And then obviously you're going to put in your onions, garlic, and chilies first, and then just let that sizzle. So that's the garlic, the chili, and then we've got the onions. I don't know if you can hear that sizzling in the background, so I'm just going to let that cook a little. I know my mom would be really proud of me right now, and I think she's watching, because when I was little, she would literally put me on the counter and cook. And that's how I learned to love the kitchen and to love cooking. And so I feel like this day was inevitable, and she's probably really excited watching right now. Shout out to mom. So this recipe I really love as well, because it's very, very quick to make. And it's something you can make either for yourself, for your family, for a party snack. And it's easy to have leftovers that you can use in another meal. So other Mexican things like tacos, besides tacos, soft shell tacos, wraps like burritos and nachos. And I see someone says here Taco Tuesday. So also a lot of Hindus fast on a Tuesday, even a Monday. So a lot of people that are also going vegan try to do like a meat-free day a week. So Taco Tuesday is like a perfect thing to incorporate into your life if you're trying to shift away from a heavily meat-based diet. And so what I like to include in my fillings are the black beans that I showed you, but also mince, soya mince. So this is a really nice one from Woolworths, but you also get a lot of different kinds in stores, whether it's the fries or the dehydrated soya mince that you can get across any spectrum of price and freshness. And so I've just got this plant-powered mince. It doesn't have that heavily soya taste, which I don't prefer. So that's why I love this one. And they've actually got tacos for some meal inspiration on the cover. So yeah, it definitely works well, and a good substitute for any meal that has mince. So while the onions are going, I'm going to add in the soya as well as the black beans. So you can do this separately if you wish. Sometimes you might just use black beans on its own. Sometimes you might prefer to use the soya on its own. But I want to actually mix the two because it packs a nice protein punch. And especially with the plant-based diet, you want to have that nice protein in your diet. And it actually tastes really good with the soya and the black beans mixed together because they've got different textures and it just creates that variety in every bite. So I'm putting in the beans and the soya. And both of these, if I'm not mistaken, are already pre-cooked. And so you don't need to cook it for very long. And that's the beauty of this recipe as well. It's very, very easy to make. And I'm going to add in, let me show you what the pan looks like for now. So not that much color yet. When we add in the tomatoes, you'll see how different it starts to look and come together. So we've got tomato paste. I'm going to add that in next. So it's a small can of tomato paste. You can also use tomato sauce if you don't have paste. It's concentrated tomato and it's quite pungent. So you want that just for a bit of a kick. And then in addition to that, your chopped tomatoes. You can add this in at a later stage if you prefer it to be a little less cooked. So more like a salsa, because tacos are a bit of a fresh, snacky meal. So it doesn't have to be overcooked like a curry or a chutney or other tomato-based meals. But I'm going to put in the tomatoes now and let that all cook together. Okay, I'm just going to show you how this looks. So that's your mix with the onions, tomatoes, tomato paste, soya mince, and your black beans. And then I like to add some paprika to that, just to get a bit of spice. Paprika's got a really nice smoky texture, so I really enjoy this taste. I'm quite generous with the paprika, even though I don't love spicy food. I feel it's more flavorful, less spicy. And while I wait for that, I'll just chat a little bit about Hinduism and a little bit about the diets and a few references from our scriptures actually that I found really interesting. So I was aware for a long time about how Hinduism promotes a plant-based diet because, you know, you grow up fasting a lot, meat-free days, on festive occasions and prayers, we fast. And I always wondered, you know, why on these specific days should we be eating vegetables? And I read a lot about it and started learning from people that I really looked up to and admired and live a really peaceful, wonderful life, and thought, what are they doing that I'm not? So I've not always been on a plant-based diet. So for me, the transition was very interesting in terms of why this makes sense. And to me, it makes sense, a lot of it. So hopefully I can share some of that with you. But many aspects of Hinduism actually promote a plant-based diet for so many reasons, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, and even environmental. I'm an environmentalist, so that's like a big thing for me as well, is if I can do something to help our planet that gives so much to us. That's me, I'll do it. So in Hinduism, it's said that whatever food we eat should be, you know, good enough to offer to God or to your deity. And so like a mother prepares food, we all know that taste and that feeling of love and, you know, that goes into the food that just makes it taste so amazing. And it's the same kind of consciousness that the other speakers mentioned with which we should prepare our food and the ingredients that we use in a way that honors nature and uses, you know, fresh, available, local ingredients to make something really delicious and healthy. And so in the scriptures, they talk about things like restraint. So choosing foods that are good for you, staying away from things that are not so good for your health, and also just promoting a compassionate diet. So a compassionate diet is referred to as ahimsa, which is a Sanskrit word for non-violence. And so ahimsa embraces the fact that all beings are believed to have a soul. And so to respect that and hold that sacred, preventing harm against other beings is like the pillar of ahimsa. And so with that comes being compassionate and empathetic to animals and not eating them. And it's so fundamental, you know, when that penny drops, because we've never been taught that since an early age, and a lot of people don't think about it. We're conditioned by society. But I think once we start thinking about it and reading about it and realizing the environmental harm that meat cultivation does to our environment and the harm that it can cause in our bodies and the effects it has on our mind and our emotions. And when we move to more plant-based foods, you actually see such a difference. And I'm sure many of you here would have experienced that as well, and have been on that journey. So it's referenced in the scriptures, and I find that amazing because some of these philosophies are like 4,000 years old, like Ayurveda. And I'll talk about that now, but back to the cooking. I need to get my tacos in the oven. So the oven's preheated, and I'm just going to point you in that direction so you can just see how I place the tacos in the oven. So you've got your oven rack. You don't need a tray. You're going to place them down on the rack for about 4 minutes max. And that's just going to crisp them really nicely. So they're hanging on the rack. Let me show you. That's how they look. And then you're just going to leave them there for a few minutes. And soon all of this is going to come together really nicely. And I particularly love to have avo on the side with any Mexican meal. So I'm going to get to that while I tell you a little bit more about what I've learned about Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is an ancient Indian philosophy of life and science of life, in the sense that it prescribes food that's really good to our bodies and unique to our physiology. So it talks about sattvic food, which are pure foods, and foods that are life-supporting, that enhance our health and our well-being. They help our mind, they help us to heal easily. You know, when doctors say eat your fruits and vegetables, it's a scientific and biological thing. And now we're seeing, it's something we're seeing in a lot of our religions as well. A life-supporting diet, a compassionate diet, and one that is free from cruelty and harm. And that's essentially what veganism is all about. It's not about cutting anything out of your life or not enjoying chocolate cake. It's about having more consciousness in the way that you eat. And that is referenced really comprehensively in the Hindu scriptures, in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana, and in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's fascinating. I find it fascinating. It's practical tips to live your life in a way that promotes your health. So I'm cutting an avo. I've cut my avo. I'm cutting a lemon just to squeeze over that so that the avo doesn't turn brown. And so it just stays fresh. Just a little squeeze of lemon. And I use that as a topper on my tacos. Some salt and pepper into the guacamole. Not everyone loves avo, believe it or not, so I just serve it on the side. Or you can do a DIY taco night where you place all your ingredients in bowls on the table and you have everything that everyone needs to DIY. It's quite fun, actually. We do that a lot at home. So my guacamole is ready. And my food on the stove, my filling should be ready soon as well. And the tacos, I can then proceed to filling those tacos. So a lot of conscious cooking as well is about, in my opinion, knowing where your food comes from. So this is what our filling looks like. So knowing where your food comes from, asking those questions about how it was grown, you know, pesticides and chemicals in a lot of our food these days are also harming our wildlife and our biodiversity. And part of being plant-based or moving towards a more compassionate diet is thinking about the effect that your food is having on the environment and on all living beings. And so ask those questions. Where is it from? Choose locally. And it's really rewarding because you're doing your bit for our planet and for your health as well. So my fillings are done and I'm going to take my tacos out of the oven now. They can be quite hot. So you've got to either have a really thick skin, literally, or use some tongs to get them out the oven. I've got nails, but I wouldn't recommend you touching a hot taco with your fingers. Don't try this at home. So these are your tacos. They're very crispy. I'm not sure if you can hear them, but they are really, really great. You know, when I first started making tacos, I didn't read the box and I thought that they were stale every time that I bought them until I started putting them in the oven and realizing that that is really a life-changing thing for the taco. Okay. So I'm just going to season my mixture, some salt and pepper. And if you want to add some fresh chili to this, you can also do that. Some extra chili for those who like it spicy. And now I'm going to start filling my tacos. So hopefully you can see, we've got a spoonful of the taco mix, and you just, it's a bit of a messy thing to fill and to eat, but that's all part of the fun. I like to layer this so that you have some of the fillings, and then you've got some of your lettuce, and I've added some chopped dhania as well. I add dhania to everything, also learned from my mom. You will not have regrets about that. So here's our soya and black bean mix, and you've got the lettuce on the top. So I'm just making 3 for now, but remember, most of the taco packs come with 12 tacos in a box. So depending how big your family or your party is, that can take you a really long way, and you can just keep making them as you need. I love your comments. I'm trying to read your comments. They're great. I hope everyone is enjoying. I wish that you could smell this and taste it, and most of my friends and family are actually so far away that I can't even send some to you, but try it. We can have a virtual taco party. So that's pretty much how they look. So that's our spicy black bean and soya tacos. I'll hold it up here. I've got the guacamole here too. So what you can do if you're an avo lover is just scoop some in. And it's a really bright and colorful meal as well. I'm all about the color on your plate. You know, they say eat the rainbow, and I think when you're vegan or vegetarian, eating a diversity of foods gets those nutrients in and balances your diet really nicely. Most importantly, it tastes really good. Number one is taste, and you will not go wrong with this. So there we go. And as other speakers have mentioned, before we eat, the prayer is very important. And prayer for me is gratitude. I learned a really beautiful one-liner prayer from The Art of Living, actually, where they say, Annadatta Sukhi Bhavaha, which means, may everyone involved in making this food and getting this food to my plate be happy. So from the farmer to the chef, to the grocers, to the people who transported the food, everyone involved in the process from farm to plate, may that person be blessed. And for that, we're grateful. And that's why we say this prayer of gratitude. And I'll end with that. Thank you so much. And thanks all for being here. Thank you, Merylene.
Thank you, Kirtanya. That was so yummy. I think what I love about this webinar is that everybody is showing how to make food in a simple way, but do it yourself. I mean, you don't need to like go to a restaurant and be so like elaborate about everything. It's just simple. It's like healthy consciousness and healthy living, healthy cooking. I just love it. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing those wisdom with us about the Hindu faith. And I wish I was there to eat those tacos. So I think we come now to our exciting part of the webinar, and which is a dialogue. Sorry, guys, we're going a little bit over the time, but I mean, everybody so lovingly prepared their recipes with us and shared it with us that we just had to give everyone the dedicated time. So let's go into our webinar. If all our speakers can put their cameras on, that'll be great. And basically, I'm going to address some questions to everybody. So I'm going to ask a question. I leave you to feel comfortable to answer it. And if you don't need to answer all the questions, you can answer which ones you feel you have something to share or which is relevant, which is important that you want to share with us. And just unmute yourself and go for it. So the first question that I would like to ask is, what advice would you give youth that cannot be vegan to encourage them to still try to have a healthy, holistic food habit that supports Mother Earth? So anyone who wants to answer, feel free to unmute yourself.
I'll take a stab at it. I think one of the things is sometimes making a transition like that does seem quite big and awesome and overwhelming. But even if you just choose that for today, I'm going to try a plant-based diet, so take it in little increments and hold that determination. And maybe then decide, okay, once a week, and then maybe move it to twice a week, but do it in small doses, because otherwise it just becomes too big sometimes. But if you want to go at one go, that's also fine. I do feel it requires a little bit of perseverance and a little bit of determination. But if there is a deep desire for something, I think we draw on our inner resources to make it happen. So not to become disheartened, and just try. And if you don't get it right, try again and try again and try again.
Thank you, Nita. I think Kurveshan wants to say something. Let me just unmute him. Okay, thanks. Do you want to share anything about that question?
Sorry, just shoot the question again to me, Merylene.
So what advice would you give youth that cannot be vegan to encourage them to still try to have a healthy, holistic food habit that supports the earth?
Okay, so with most of my friends, I'm very brazen with them. And I sort of, just in a joking manner, I guilt them into eating animals. And it's quite funny, actually. But, I do try and give them the health benefits of it, where I don't think the human body was designed to digest animal protein and that form of matter, right? It was designed to process organic matter. And quite honestly, when you fast, when you engage on these fruit fasts or veg fasts as a meat eater, you really do feel your gut takes a break, because gut health is so important to actually the entire functioning and well-being of your body. So I try and encourage my friends to do these little fasts, and we are quite active in our friend circle. So we do engage on activities and we eat a lot of fruit. And I think holistically, you feel it, you see it in terms of your skin quality, in terms of how you feel, how you think, how you're able to process your emotions and thoughts. You don't feel drained out and tired. You're not too susceptible to emotional conflict. You become more of a master of your emotions and your mind and your thoughts. So yeah, I just encourage them to try it out and just to focus on that clarity of thought.
Thank you so much. That's very true. And that's why with this campaign, like we try to have Meatless Mondays, or we try to encourage you that if you cannot be vegan, at least like try a little, step by step. Like for me, I became a vegetarian in 2009, and then I'm aiming at a more vegan lifestyle. But for me, it's like 13 years now, no meat and no fish. And it's like when I started off, I watched a lot of documentaries like Fork Over Knives, Food Inc. And watching the suffering of animals is what allowed me to make that breakthrough. And from there, I've started slowly giving up meat, chicken, fish, and then it eventually became like full-blown vegetarian. So it's a step-by-step process, as Nita also explained. So thank you for sharing about that. So the next question is, how would you describe a lifestyle in eating with a minimal carbon footprint? So it's open to anyone who wants to answer it.
I'll chip in. So the term local is lekker. Eat food as close as possible. You can grow your own food, that'd be cool. If you can share with your neighbors, encourage them to also grow, and create a community that's around locally produced food that's healthy for your body, your spirit, and the planet. So I think growing food is actually a community effort. So as an individual, you can grow so much, but you need diversity. You need people, and people to feed love into the system. Because I think that's a problem with the current food system. It's based on violence, and we talk about why society is so violent. Because actually the way the food is grown is in a violent manner, whether it's animals or crops. So if you use a lot of pesticides that's killing insects, or herbicides that's destroying that diversity, that is violence. And at the end of the day, you're consuming that violence and so forth.
Thanks, Delwyn. That's very true. Anybody else like to share anything?
I can share on this. So I think with a minimal carbon footprint, it's also looking at the transport of your food and how far or how long it takes to get to you. So a lot of the simple way of putting it is eat local, and growing your own is number one. I would say eating local, anything means that it's taken less time to travel to you, and so less carbon emissions in getting to you. And it also supports the people around you and local producers and farmers, small scale farmers. So the eating local is something simple, but I think very, very powerful. And also just the plant-based diet. They say the best way to reduce your carbon footprint is to have one less child. Okay, that's number one. And then the second one is to eat less meat. So also just tying into the first question, some people can't just change overnight entirely, but to eat less meat is something sometimes more doable for people, whether it's a meat-free day a week. And that small transition to make a difference, because it's amazing how small actions can make big differences. So definitely eat less meat and choose local.
Thank you, Kirtanya. That's some valid points there, especially eating local, supporting local farmers and local markets. Usually we support the supermarkets and the malls, and the same thing you could buy at an affordable price by a local farmer, but at the same time, you're empowering him by buying from him. So I truly love that that eating local. There's also another beautiful book called Small is Beautiful, and he talks about this concept about where in order to grow each community, it starts there at the small aspect before looking at mass production. And that's where you get your most benefit from. And it also ties back to the book I shared earlier, which is Confessions of an Eco-Sinner, where you're tracing back the carbon footprint of each item that you bought. So you're becoming more consciously aware of what you're buying, the carbon footprint that goes into it, and that you should like try to reduce that where you can. So thank you. Those are very valuable points. So the next question would be, what barriers do people face in being vegan, and how can they overcome this?
Okay, hello. I'll take a stab at this. I think the very first thing is accessibility to ingredients and the cost factor. I must admit, I think the cost factor is the biggest put off in society trying to move forward into a vegan lifestyle. I think the hype around it has created an economic sinkhole where corporates are just using it as an opportunity to just bash us with high prices. But if you're smart about it, you can grow your own crop. You can, like everybody's been sharing, you can source locally. So visit your local grocer, try and get wholesome products. I know to make loads of products like plant-based milks. You would use grains and beans and liquidize that and then strain that off, even to make your own tofu. So I would suggest look into those methods. Don't just buy tofu from a stall. Find out the process on how you can make your own tofu. My family and I, we're still vegetarian, so we do consume dairy. And a method that my mom would generally do is with milk that's past the sell-by date in the fridge, she'd make paneer with it. So you kind of find your own means to survive. But I would think that the biggest barrier would be the cost and accessibility to ingredients. But again, we have access to the internet, so you can Google stuff. There's loads of people, this community is growing. So there's loads of ideas and recipes being shared around. Thank you.
If I can add to that, cost is definitely number one barrier to any behavior change. I think especially in a country like South Africa, which is so diverse socially, economically, we sometimes don't have the luxury to just change our habits overnight, whether it's veganism or going plastic free or whatever it is. But also I find that we must also not use it as an excuse. And I say this cautiously, but sometimes it's just peer pressure. As I mentioned, we're in a society where the default is eating meat. So we don't question it. And often we're ridiculed or, shunned when you don't. I think it is getting better, no doubt. But it's harder, I think, for people that want to maybe make the transition who are not in a friend group or a family circle that will embrace that or understand that. So sometimes it means more effort. And sometimes it's worth that effort. Like I have friends that cook their own meals and that are vegan or vegetarian and their family is not. And slowly their families caught onto that and started enjoying their meals, not knowing that you could do this. So I think it's just taking that bold step and just, sticking with something and seeing how it goes, being bold about it and being true to that. But also I wanted to speak about meditation. And what I found with that is before I stopped eating meat, I was not a meditator. I didn't meditate or do yoga, but I was just doing that so I could be more calm as a student. And then I realized my body was like actively rejecting things that were bad for me, bad for my mental health and my emotions. And it just so happened that one day the penny dropped and I stopped eating chicken and fish, which is what I ate at the time. And a lot of friends have gone through the same experience, you know, from all walks of life. So I don't think culture is the biggest barrier and race. I think anyone can do it. And I read in a book this week called Looking Inward about the effect of meditation and how it, you know, Nita spoke about it as well, purifying your mind and placing yourself in a higher vibrational state. It just helps to facilitate decisions that are better for your health, better for the planet. I've experienced that, and I've seen a lot of young people experience it too. So if you're struggling with your logic and your intellect and just making a shift, I would say go inward and watch how you can transform through practices like meditation and yoga.
Wow, thank you. That's a very good advice for us. Nita, do you want to add anything, or are you okay?
Yeah, just one thing. Thanks, Kirtanya. You know, one of the principles that we try to abide by within the BKs is of living with simplicity. So on the one hand, yes, we don't want to spend a lot, which is fair enough, especially in these difficult times. But then can I look at how can I save? So that I'm working on both ways. So creating more simple lifestyle, and lifestyle not just in terms of food, but in terms of how often do I go out to eat in restaurants, my socializing, how much am I spending, my entertainment, you know, just traveling everywhere for something, maybe get a bicycle and ride or cycle somewhere. So there are alternatives that I can explore. But I think the challenge comes is because we don't want to forsake the convenience that these facilities bring. And so it is a sacrifice, but my sacrifice is for the greater good, not just for myself, but for all living beings as well. So it does require a mindset shift. It requires, I think, taking a step in a different direction, but my conscience is clean and clear when I do that. So when I look at myself in the mirror, I know I'm doing what I can to the best of my ability without using, as Kirtanya said earlier, you know, we find excuses, we can't use that as reasons, but finding ways I can economize, I can save, I can do things differently. I make my own oat milk, so I don't buy milk. I just take a cup of oats, blend it with water, and it lasts me for a week. So there are many, many ways, but one must be willing to simplify, I think, and move away from convenience, perhaps. Thanks.
Thank you, Nita. Those are valid points. And my favorite question. So any favorite affordable, tasty vegan products and restaurants that you like to share with us? Like, I know recently I've been attending the KZN vegan markets, and it's a nice place to go to get homemade, and it's like supporting the local, as Catania mentioned earlier. So I definitely enjoy going there, and we even got a stall there where we sell vegan cakes and other food stalls. So it's a very nice place. I mean, I've discovered Buttercup, which is a nice restaurant that has soy products, which is almost like eating KFC, but in a more healthier vegan way. And there's many other products and stalls there. So that's one place I would recommend going. It's in Durban North and in Kloof. And any of the speakers like to share any affordable, tasty vegan products and restaurants with us?
Merylene, I can't comment because I actually only eat home food. I don't eat at restaurants. Reason being, it's the consciousness with which it's prepared. My main practice is meditation, and I feel the impact when I've eaten something that is not cooked in the right awareness. And I think restaurants' food is prepared in a very rushed, hectic consumerism mannerism. So I stay away from restaurants. One product that I absolutely love, and you'll always find it in my pantry, is nutritional yeast flakes. It's a healthy product. It's got a nutty, cheesy flavor, and I absolutely love it. So that's the one thing. And olive oil you'll always find in my pantry as well. But I don't eat out, so can't recommend anything.
Thanks, Nita. Anybody else like to recommend anything?
I just think it's incredible how Nita lives, and definitely something to aspire to. That takes some real discipline, but I'm sure the effects of that are so worth it. I think also just there's a few people from different provinces I can see around the country, and one thing I loved in Cape Town was Wellness Warehouse. And it's incredibly expensive, but there's a lot of products that are coming into those stores that you don't find in other places, especially like your gluten-frees and your special dietary requirement products. And I was really pleased to see a Wellness Warehouse in Durban at Lalusha Mall, and I think there's one in Belito as well. So I'm not sure about affordable, but definitely accessible, and maybe some of the bulk foods as well that you can get there that I think are really great in terms of being meat replacements. Also, KZN Vegan Market is incredible, and Cape Town also has vegan markets, I think. I'm not sure if anyone knows, can pop that in the chat, but there's a huge vegan space in Cape Town, and I was thrilled to also see it here in KZN when I moved back home. And then the Vegan Chef, which is a great restaurant, I think, countrywide. They've also opened up in Durban North now. They were at Pearls in KZN, and then they're also available in Joburg, and I'm not sure about Cape Town, but they're great, really great.
Thanks, Catania. There's also Oh My Soul Cafe, which is in Durban North. And they have amazing vegan stuff. So if anybody wants to check them out. But yeah, I do take Nita's stance to that it's best to have homemade, and Kurveshan showed us, like, you know, how you can have tasty, homemade, affordable foods, and including everybody on this call. So yeah, homemade with the right conscious cooking is the great way to go. So I think we will close up with our last question, and this is to all speakers. It's sort of like a summary on how would you see the connection between religion, spirituality, and being vegan in helping climate change. So we've touched many of the points, but it's just a sort of like a summary, but also a concise conclusion of your thinking on the topic. Thank you.
Maybe I can jump here. So in terms of my religion, the thing is of spirituality, of treating your body as a temple. Also being conscious of what you eat, where it comes from. I think it sort of ties in with all the other aspects, and the need for prayer, and that vibration that you put out there. And as Kirtanya says, think about the producers that produce the food, the cooks that did, and then eventually your consumption of it. And then also to appreciate every bite that you take. Because I think we live in such a fast-paced society. And Nikita talked about convenience, so everything's on the go, on the fast. But to actually take your time and to enjoy it and appreciate every step in that process. And then hopefully that will in tune your body to be more treated as a temple. Thank you.
I echo Delwyn's statements there. If I could summarize, I just give it to you in point form, right? So first and foremost, Mother Earth is a gift of God, okay? And we call this Mother Earth because, like a mother, she provides in abundance for whatever you require, okay? You are not short of anything. So you need to understand the essence of the earth and what a gift it is, and basically what Mother Earth is, what creation is. The second thing that man has to acknowledge as being the apex of, I would say, God's creation is that man has a duty to God's creation. You have a duty. We are all just custodians here, and we do have a duty to protect the land, to protect the subspecies below us on the food chain, okay? Because that comes down to my third point, which is understanding the interdependency of all things. I don't think that we would function without the birds and the bees and the trees and the sun and the clouds, the breeze that you have going through, because everything is so interconnected. The wind even aids in pollination of trees and plants. So it's just about, like the other speakers, like Nita and Kirtanya have expressed, is that you need to align yourself with your highest self, okay? And really delve deep into who you are, and what's your purpose here in this birth, in taking on this human birth, in taking on this body, this vessel, and just find out your place in all this. Life can get really hectic sometimes, but grounding yourself allows one to align yourself to your highest possible values, and then crafting or channeling your way through, or navigating your way, I would say, through this maze that we call life. So yeah, from my point, it's the earth, gift of God. Man, as the apex of God's creation, has a duty to preserve this creation. And it's about understanding the interdependency of all things. And I think once an individual poses those questions to themselves, the rest will just follow. You will naturally make changes. Like Kirtanya even said, that your body rejects certain choices that you make. It's because you're now aligning yourself to a different mode of operation, to different values, to different wants, needs, and likes. So just if one embarks on that journey, then the rest will just naturally pop itself out and blossom. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. You just like summarized it up so well. All of you. I don't need to say anything further, I think. So I guess I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much to each and every one of y'all for taking the time, sharing your recipe, doing the preparations, but sharing the profound wisdom and teachings of each of your faiths, but also putting it in such a simple way for you to understand, to learn, even the seniors as well. It's an intergenerational dialogue, but it's like getting the message across so profoundly and simply. And I find it very, very educational and enlightening, and I thank each and every one of you. So before we officially close our meeting, I know we went so much over the time, and it's been such an engaging conversation. I just want to ask one of our moderators, Mark, to just make a few comments and just share his remarks, his closing remarks. Mark is actually from the Christian faith, and he's a member of the Global Network of Religions for Children, also Religions for Peace South Africa, and International Youth Development Network. So Mark, would you just share your closing remarks, and then we will close off our meeting.
Okay, thanks, Merylene. I think it was a great opportunity to learn so much from these young people and all the different recipes. And thank you so much for putting your energy, into providing these wonderful recipes. I think I just want to maybe end with one word: is there's a call to action for young people to change the world. And it's small little activities, our discussion, our dialogues that are working towards this change. And I think it's important, we harness the energy of young people. Young people are at the forefront because it's ultimately young people are going to be affected by the decisions that the adults like myself are making. So that is why young people need to have a platform and to speak up. And that's why I emphasize the call to action. And I think this platform and this dialogue is just one of them going forward. Yeah, so that's the only thing I should be saying.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all those that joined us on the call this afternoon. Thank you for being here, spending a Sunday with us. We appreciate it. We will share the vegan recipes and we will share this recording as well on our social media platforms. I will just share the Facebook page one more time so everybody can be connected with us. We will have more events. We plan to have lots more. I hope we'll be able to have some physical events and we'll all get to meet up in person. Maybe actually get to share the wonderful food that you guys made and taste them. And let's hope COVID allows this. But in the meantime, we are in this virtual space engaging with everybody. So thank you so much and have a blessed Sunday and a blessed week. And thank you again.